Hi guys, so it's Christina. I am going to be teaching you about chapter 4 of our textbook. So let me just pull up my PowerPoint. So chapter 4 was entitled Provide Consistency by Organizing Lessons Within a Cycle. So that's basically just saying that we should organize our lessons within a cycle. So teaching the same way, even if you're teaching something different, if that makes sense. So why an instructional cycle? So an instructional cycle will promote deeper thinking or deeper learning for the students. And they do that because you're always doing a cycle. And so the students are kind of familiar with it, and that allows more time for their learning. And they also don't have to worry if they're doing an assignment right, or have to ask constantly for the teacher's instructions. Say, hey, can you repeat that? I'm not sure what we're supposed to be doing, because the students will know. Since it's on a cycle, they'll know what they should be doing at what time of day and what part of the lesson. So there's less teachers having to guide the students around. And then also students are more comfortable with the lesson, and this is the text talked about how it was more important for ELLs to be comfortable because they're more willing to talk and they're able to do what all their classmates are doing. And then also, like I kind of touched on previously, there aren't any instructions from the teacher needed for the lesson, so it allows more time for the learning, which there promotes deeper learning kind of thing. So it kind of just goes in a cycle. And then this picture I took from the textbook just because I thought it did a really good job of summing up why we should teach an instructional cycle. So it just says regular repeated lesson sequence that provides an architecture for literacy instruction. With each new big idea studied, the core learning task stays largely the same, but the content under focus changes. This repeated lesson sequence provides ELs with the consistency and predictability needed to master the expectations and procedures in order to focus on the content at hand. So basically just why you should teach in a cycle. So how to construct a knowledge building cycle. So there are 5 features that the teacher needs to follow for their lessons and cycles. So the first one is identify and then repeat core learning tasks from cycle to cycle. Second one, sequence core learning tasks developmentally. 3, gradually increase the cognitive and linguistic demands of the core learning tasks as the year progresses. 4, provide ELLs and their peers with opportunities to study academic words and concepts using multiple methods and formats. And then 5, organize each instruction cycle around a big idea or question. And we'll go over these more in detail in the next couple of slides. So these are just the 5 features that all instructional cycles should include in order for it to allow students to have that deeper thinking. So feature number 1, identify and then repeat core learning tasks from cycle to cycle. This gives ELLs and their peers time to master the routines and expectations. So the first couple of weeks in the book, it talks about it's kind of going to be rocky. You're going to need to allow more time to teach them how to do stuff. But as weeks go on, less and less time is needed, and then ELLs and all students will be able to master the routine and know what to do. And this allows them to engage even more in thinking, talking, and writing because they're freed up to focus on the lesson versus focusing on instruction and what the teacher wants them to do. And an example they used from the text was in Ms. Parkin's class when she did the think, pair, share, or the partner revision routine, and also talked about a paired discussion activity. There were a couple more in the text, but I thought those were some that we'd kind of been familiar with. So the think, pair, shares, think about the question as the teacher is talking, and then pair up with a partner and take turns sharing your thoughts, and then share the thoughts with the whole class. So just if you do that within all your lessons, then students are going to know, okay, this is the part where we think, pair, share. So we'll do that instead of the teacher saying, okay, now think, pair, share with your partner. So feature number 2 is the sequence core learning task developmentally. So basically start from easiest and go up to the hardest. So this allows ELLs and their peers to continue to engage in the incremental process of developing knowledge and language. An example I took from the text was a teacher would first connect with what the class is learning to the student's background, so something to get them to understand what they're learning or how to incorporate it. And then 2, layer on additional concepts through activities and readings. And this will allow students to try to use the academic language, get more familiar with it, to understand what it means. And then as like a final assessment, the student should extend on what they learn with a language production product. So that could be like the mock trial, debate, public service announcement, letter, some kind of thing to show that they're able to use the academic language outside of the lesson. And then the picture I took from the book as well, just because it was from Ms. Parkin's classroom. So in another example, for when she's teaching vocabulary words to the class, day 1, she talks about the vocabulary word, how to spell it, what it looks like, what it sounds like. Day 2, they talk about what they already know about its meaning and its dictionary definition. Day 3, its meaning in the touchstone text, so its meaning where they're reading it from, and how it's used to talk about the touchstone text. Day 4, multiple meanings for the word, so the students understand that even though it could be a certain definition in one text, in another text, it might mean something completely different. And then how to represent its meaning graphically, so with pictures. Day 5 and 6, they talk about the different word parts inside the word and their meanings. So that would be like the prefixes, the suffixes, and then the different forms of the word and how they are used. So that would be past, present, and future tenses and how to use them in different sentences. Day 7 would be the meaning of the word in different contexts. So even though a word might mean surface, or like using the word surface in one text, that could be the surface of water, I think was the Miss Parkin's class used, but surface to another student meant to get to the land. So it's just what it can mean in different contexts. And then how to use the words to write and talk about the big idea. And then days 8 and 9 is how to use the word precisely in extended writing. So that's the deeper learning of the word. So they're getting to not only know the definition, but how to use it elsewhere and how to write about it. Feature number 3, gradually increase the cognitive and linguistic demands of the core learning task as the year progresses. So that kind of responsive teaching involves the following 3 qualities: gradually removing scaffolding, adding complexity to activities, and allowing students to take increasing responsibility for their learning. So an example from Ms. Parkin's classroom that I took from the book. So when she removes scaffolding, she removes sentence frames that the students were using in previous questions or previous lessons, and after they got familiar with them, of course. And then for the adding complexity, she took questions that would include more academic language. So in previous questions, it could be yes, no answers, or the sentence frames, I agree with you because, I disagree with you because, and then takes those away and gives them questions that require more academic language. So it makes it a little bit harder, but they still know how to answer questions because of the sentence frames. And then to allow choice or allow students to take responsibility of their learning, she provides them with the choice to choose which question they want to discuss. That could be with their partner, with the whole class, with several students, just giving them that choice. Feature number 4 is providing ELLs and their peers opportunities to study academic words and concepts using multiple methods and formats. So that just means when you're designing a lesson or a cycle, you need to use multiple instruction methods. So you can do instruction for part of it, but you should also do project-based learning, kind of interactive learning for another part. So it's not always going to be you lecturing at the front. You're going to have some parts where they can get up out of their seats and do activities. And then the second part of that is targeting the different components of literacy. So that could be providing students with opportunities to read, write, and practice their speaking skills, all within the cycle or the lessons. And then the teacher needs to vary instructional groupings. So that means when it's time for like think, pair, share, or group work, the students are provided opportunities to work with kids at the same level as them, and also provided opportunities with students who aren't at the same level so they can feed off of each other, and then also allowing the students to work independently and with the whole class. So all four grouping activities need to be included through the cycle or lesson, just because students need all of that to get the deeper understanding. And then number 5 is organize each instruction cycle around a big idea or question. So without a big idea or question for a cycle or a lesson, students are kind of like, okay, I don't really know why we're learning about caterpillars and why they disguise themselves. So it kind of makes them less interested and also doesn't give them the deeper understanding of why they're learning. So an effective instructional cycle depends upon rich content in the form of a big idea. So for instructional organization and student inquiry, we need to have that big idea. Without a big idea, students don't get to perform the knowledge building because, like I said, they don't know why they're learning something. And then in Ms. Parkin's classroom, some current big ideas that they're working on with the caterpillar changing its appearance, disguising itself. Their big idea was how animals survive in their environments. And then in social studies, when they were talking about the Underground Railroad and how people would disguise themselves when going through it, I think. Yeah, in the previous chapter, the big idea was how individuals and communities overcome obstacles. So how they overcame the obstacles and all that stuff. So this is kind of a picture I just took off the internet that kind of went with the slide. So making sure when you're planning a lesson that you have learning goals, that you have objectives, and it goes with the nature of the content and learning experiences, and you can tie it into the activities and also the assessment. So make sure that you know that they know the learning goals and objectives. Okay, so now we're going to watch a video. This is going to be part of the special assignment that for the Panopto handout for Chapter 4. It's a third grade teacher, I believe, teaching a class some vocabulary words. So I want you to watch, while watching the video, I want you to watch for ways that you can tell whether or not the teacher teaches her lessons on a cycle. So do you see something that the students already are familiar with, that they know they don't need her to instruct her on what to do? And then I want you to write down what, oh, sorry guys. Okay, thank you. That's enough. The bad part of having a planner. Okay, I think that's enough. Okay, so anyways, what does she do with her class? What does she do well with her class that you think is part of the 5 features of the that we talked about in the PowerPoint? So does she provide instructional groupings? Does she have the whole class discuss and then have pairs discuss and then have individual work? What all can you find in the video that proves to you that she is teaching on a cycle or isn't? And then write about some 5 if you see any of the 5 features. So here we go. Had it open.
going to go over our champs for our vocabulary. C stands for
conversation.
When I'm teaching, I expect you at a 0. And when you're sharing with your partner, I want you at a 1. Show me what a 1 sounds like. If you need help, you put your hand on your
Head.
Our activity is we're going to be learning some new vocabulary words that we can apply into our reading story. Our movement is seated crisscross.
Applesauce.
And for participation, I want you sharing with your partners, and I want to see big, big
Explosions.
And that will lead to 1, 2,
3, success.
Nice job. This week we're going to read a story called The Strongest One. Our vocabulary words are decorated,
Decorated.
symbol,
Symbol.
darkened,
Darkened.
nose,
Nose.
securing,
Securing.
weakest.
Weakest.
Mirror with words.
Mirror words.
Decorate means
Decorate means
to make pretty.
to make pretty.
Decorated means
Decorated means
to make pretty.
to make pretty.
Teach.
Okay.
Class, boom.
Yes.
I saw some wonderful teaching. One for you.
Oh yeah.
Now I'm going to read the sentence that has our vocabulary word in it. And when you hear the word, I want you to say the word and do the gesture. Capiche?
Capiche.
We
Decorated.
the room with balloons and streamers. Now this one is from the
Text.
from our reading story. Sun, snow, wind, stick,
Fire, water, big rock, all wear t-shirts. Decorated
with
their symbol.
I want you to pay attention to that word. Now we're going to look at some examples and non-examples. If it's an example, you're going to give me a thumbs up. Let's try it now. Example.
Thumbs up.
If it's not an example, put your thumbs down.
Thumbs down.
Okay, I'm going to be watching. What about these cookies? Example of decorated or not an example? Good job. I see not an example. What about these Easter eggs? What about these cookies? What about this tree? What about these eggs? What about this table? This tree? This table. Good job. Now, we're going to go over the word family, and we add prefixes and suffixes to these. So let's look at our first one. It's decorates. Decorates means more than
one.
Redecorating means to decorate.
Right now.
Redecorate means to
Decorate again.
Oh, I saw a wonderful job.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Symbol.
Symbol.
Mirror with words.
Mirror words.
Symbol means
Symbol means
a picture or shape that stands for something.
a picture or a shape that stands for something.
Symbol means
Symbol means
a picture or shape that stands for something.
a picture or a shape that stands for something.
Teach.
Okay. Symbol means a picture or a shape that stands for something. Symbol means a picture or a shape that stands for something. Symbol means a picture or a shape that Symbol means a picture.
Pause.
Yes, yes, yes.
Now I'm going to read it. You are going to look for your vocabulary word and say it and do the gesture. Look at the
Symbol.
on the floor to figure out which restroom to use. Now I want you to think about this one. I'm going to read it. You're going to fill in the blank. Sun, snow, wind, stick, fire, water, big rock, all wear t-shirts.
Decorated.
Nice pick up. With their
Symbol.
So we know in the text, when we get to this spot, we will see how many vocabularies. Whisper to your partner, how many vocabularies? Now I want you to look at these pictures. These are all symbols of things. And I want you to partner share and say what the symbol represents. You're going to use this sentence start at the bottom. The blank is a symbol that represents, I want you to TP with your partner right now. You can take any symbol on that entire page. You're going to tell what the symbol is and what it represents. When you're done, you're going to look at the smartboard. And I would like pencils to begin. You may go. The Olympics? Yes.
Which ones are non-examples?
These ones, there's going to be no non-examples because it's a picture or a symbol that stands for something. Are these all pictures or symbols?
Yeah.
Yes, your job is to identify what they stand for. We're going to move on right now. Darkened.
Darkened.
Mirror with words.
Mirror words.
Darkened means.
Darkened means.
To become more dark.
To become more dark.
Darkened means.
Darkened means.
To become more dark.
To become more dark.
Teach.
Okay. Darkened means to become more dark. Darkened means to become more dark. Darkened means
Class, boom, boom, boom.
yes, boom, boom, boom.
Same thing, you're going to fill in the blank and do the gesture. The.
Darkened.
Ooh, I didn't see everyone. So I'm going to take a moment. Try it again. I think you can do it. The.
Darkened.
Much better. Hallway was spooky and
Eerie.
Who can give me a synonym for the word eerie? If you know it, put it in your head. What is a synonym for the word eerie? I want you to whisper it to your partner. Scary. On a darkened stage, the ants crouch together. So in our text, we're going to have to be thinking about why would they be on a stage? I want you to TP with your partner. And this time, I would like paper to only share. Who's only sharing this time?
Paper.
You're going to look and you're going to think, why would a room be darkened? Okay? You're going to use the sentence starter. A room might be darkened because, and when you and your partner, when you're done, look at the smartboard, please. Maybe again.
A room might be darkened if you're having a tea party. It's dark. A room might be darkened so the building doesn't share.
Smartboard!
Eyes on it.
Nancy, can you tell me what Curtis said?
He said a room might be darkened because it might be a movie theater.
It might be a movie theater. Jason, the movie theater can be dark in the lights.
So the film can project.
So the film can project. I like that. Thank you, Curtis. All right, now we're going to visit our word families. Darkened means to darken.
Right now.
Darkened means
Past tense.
and you usually see the word did darken. Nice job. Darker, ER at the end means
More dark.
darkest, EST at the end means
Most.
So it would be
Most dark.
Nos. Let me hear it. Nos?
Nos.
Nos?
Nos.
Mirror with words.
Mirror words.
Nos means
Nos means
you chew on it.
you chew on it.
Nos means
Nos means
you chew on it.
you chew on it.
Teach!
Okay. Nos means you chew on it. Nos means you chew on it. Nos means you chew on it. Nos means you chew on it.
Guys, boom!
Yes, go.
Now this one is the dog
Nos.
on a bone. Just like in our picture, the dog is gnawing on the bone. Now this one's from the text. Mouse comes and
Nos.
holes in me. Here he
Comes.
Let's look at our word families here. We have nas, and we have an S on the end, so that means more than
1.
Then we have nod, which means
Past tense.
you usually see the word
did.
So now let's put it together. Did not. Say shop. Gnawing means to gnaw.
Right now.
Nice job. Mirror with words.
Here words.
Secure means
Securing means
to fasten firmly.
to fasten firmly.
Securing means
Securing means
to fasten firmly.
to fasten firmly.
Teach.
Okay. Securing means to fasten firmly.
Classic.
Yes.
I saw everyone marrying their partner and be enthusiastic. Somebody.
Oh
Now let's look at this first sentence. You're going to fill in your vocab word, say it, and do the gesture. I sometimes have a hard time
yeah. Securing.
buttons on my jacket. The ants wear feelers suggested by
Securing.
red pipe cleaners around the headband. I'm getting more context clues about what this story might be about. All right, we have a lot of word families here. Secures, the S means more than.
1.
Secured, ED means
Past tense.
and usually
You see the word did. Secure.
Nice job. Securing means to secure.
Right now.
Unsecure, when we see un, it means what?
Not secure.
And we're going to jump down to this one. Securus means
Most secure.
nice job. Mirror with words.
Mirror words.
Weakest
Weakest
means the least strong.
means the least strong.
Weakest means
Weakest means
the least strong.
the least strong.
Teach.
Okay.
Now go get them. Smart board. We're going to read this sentence together. Now look at what does it end with. I want you to whisper to your partner. What is that? Okay, let's read it together. Remember how we say the first word. Who is the weakest
Person you know.
Now the second sentence, you're just going to fill in your vocab and give me the gesture. Yes, we are the smallest and
Weakest.
of all. Weaker means
More weak.
Weakest means the
Most weak.
Nice job. Now, this is where we're going to review our vocabulary. Okay, I'm going to see how well you know it. I know it's only our first day, but if I'm going to read you a definition, and you're going to put 1 if it's decorated, 2 if it's symbol, 3 if it's darkened, 4 if it's nos, 5 if it's securing, 6 if it's weakest. You're going to hold it on your chest. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. You're going to hold up your fingers, but you're going to say the vocab word. Okay? So let's just try it first. Say I picked decorated. Okay, so everyone put a 1 on your chest. And I'm going to say 1, 2, 3.
Decorated.
I can see who's knowing their vocabulary. All right, your first definition is a picture that stands for something. A picture that stands for something. I will know you're ready when you have that number on your chest. 1, 2, 3.
Symbol.
Ooh, nice job. All right, let's try this one. Made darker. You made it darker. What did you do? 1, 2, 3.
Darken.
Okay, I gotta give it up to you guys.
Oh yeah.
All right, how about if you are the least strong? You are the least strong. What are you? You are the least strong. I like how I see people say nice and straight up. 1, 2, 3.
Weakest.
And let's do one more. If you are going to chew on something, you are doing what to it?
Are you
see if I can do this. 1, 2, 3. Nice job. Thank you very much.
All right. So that was my panopto. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Take this off so you can see me. Yeah, so just on your special assignment, make sure to write about whether or not you thought that teacher taught her vocabulary lesson on a cycle. And remember, within the chapter, it talks about teaching on a cycle within every subject, so not just vocabulary, but that was just an example of a video I found for your special assignment. And so I thought you guys would like to see Chloe. Here she is. Say hi, Chloe. Hi. Yeah, this is my dog that I talk about all the time. Athena's somewhere. Athena! Up, 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 up. You can see her. There she is. Oh, Chloe's not happy with Athena. Okay. But anyways, that was chapter 4. I hope you guys enjoyed. And thank you. Bye.